everything like that. It's about the full package.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things, Nico, I've a question in regards to that, like, because, when we're talking about going overseas, like, how important is an EU passport? Because I always hear it's so, you need to have an EU passport in order to be able to get into an academy and all that. Like, is that something that's like a requirement before you even go to this showcase?
I have one for sale if anybody wants
it. It's not a requirement. I mean, the showcase is open at everyone. The only thing that the showcase is limited by right now is, it's a boys showcase. The age is between 13 and 18. And also, space can be limited as well, depending on how many coaches we can possibly have for players. So other than that, it's open to anyone and all. But I mean, having, a passport, it's probably helpful. Going through the bureaucratic process, I can't speak on that, just because, that's not my line of work and I don't want to misspeak. But, obviously having one would, definitely help opportunity, because teams only have certain amount of international spots once you get to a certain age.
And just really quickly before we get into these college clips and some really, really awesome actions by your young goalkeeper over here. It's Abby, right? Abby Cowles?
Abby Coles.
Abby Coles. Is that, like, are all the clubs looking at this showcase? Like, is it like Milan, Juventus, like all the clubs, or is it like specific clubs?
So it's open to all the clubs. So, the event that they're going to have in Rome, that's up to the club's discretion if they're going to send 1 scout, 2 scout, no scouts. So, the showcase gives the opportunity to present, yourself as a player, but also gives the opportunity to, get another opportunity eventually. So, for me as a goalkeeper coach for them, I'm running them through a session. And then the collective staff of Rome City Institute, they're making that decision of, if someone is going to be invited to that,
that next step.
Yeah, that next step. So yeah.
All right. Let's get to these clips right here. So this is there's some really, really cool actions right here. So I think this is against Binghamton, and it's like 0-0 with like 3 minutes left in the half. There's a spin move at the top of the 18. Actually, let me just play it all right back here. It's like a spin move at the top by Samaya Reed right here. Shot on goal. And now, Coles? It's a spill. And as Saskia says, never follow one mistake with a second mistake. She gets right back up because it's a dangerous area. Lauren Clark tries to lift it right over her, but she gets that big paw up, and it's a brilliant save over the bar right there. That is just absolutely massive on the brilliant recovery. So let's break this down from the very top right here. So Nico, first off, what is she seeing right here?
So right now she's looking at the ball, where the ball is, trying to make sure she's in the right position between the ball and the middle of the goal. And then one thing I've been focusing on is the leg load. So once you see the leg load, then we get into that stance for reaction, and then it's quick reaction saves after that. So here, obviously, a little spill, but now what can we do to fix it? Find a solution.
And I love it. Just that quick hand shot up right there. I mean, I love it. Saskia's looking at that because this is exactly what she wants for somebody to do. Not dwell on the fact that I just spilled the ball. Next thing you know, it's in the back of the net, right?
Right. Well, you can tell like her focus, so her head, her eyes, and everything are still on where the rebound went. And so just it doesn't have to be pretty. Like she's even still on her knees here, but she just says, I got to make myself big and get what I can to this ball. And even still to have the body shape on your knee. I know this is crazy. The body shape on your knees to get power enough with that one hand to pop it over the bar is great. It's just, what can I do? What can I get to this?
I was just literally going to say that because I've seen a lot of goalkeepers, including myself, who've tried to make this save and we don't get enough push off on it, enough power on it. And so we end up tipping it into the net. But she's able to really get that full power behind it. Nico, is that something you work on recovery movements?
So recovery movements, to an extent, yes. a big thing that, you know, I like to do in particular, everything has to be ball oriented. So not focusing on the person, the player, you know, you have rec to the person or rec to the ball. So it's all ball oriented, you know, actions that I like to train. So not really focusing too much on the person, but, you know, the deflection, because that ball can deflect off anybody. You know, the shot can look like it's going to the keeper's left, hit somebody, goes to the right. It has to be ball oriented for me.
Yeah. You know, speaking of ball oriented, I want to move on to this next clip right here, as how disappointed that player is. You can see from her on the floor right there. She's like, I should have. She's like, how did I not score that? Right there. Let's see here if it's. Oh yeah. So right here. So this is against Navy, I believe, and the game is tied up, and it's a dribble direct by Alexa Riddle towards the near post. And I've seen so many young goalkeepers, Nico, in this situation, and older goalkeepers, including myself, come off this post right here, exposing that space, and then they just get slotted on. But obviously, is right there, nice and tight with the post, waits for the player to make a commitment, stays with it, disciplined, and it's just a great save on the near post right there. So why don't you kind of take us back here from the dribble first?
Yeah,
right.
So I believe that was on the kickoff. Just overloaded the one side, found the space and behind. And again, you know, now finding that space, you see her chuck her shoulder, looking for that post, probably heels to the post was her thought. And now just focusing on the 1v1 with the player. And again, ball-oriented movement, reacting to the ball, because here it's the defenders are, you know, behind the attacking player. So it's, you know, it's on her. And I can only speak for, you know, how I train and, you know, my thoughts on it. I can't speak for her. So a huge thing for me is like, you know, I can never play for the player. I can only train them for the situations, what they might see, and prepare them for the, you know, to make the correct decision. And that's huge, is, you know, making the correct decision consistently. And that's what creates a higher level player.
Yeah. Saskia, any thoughts right here?
Well, I think we've talked about this so many times, Mike, is like sometimes you don't, like, we'll see so many young goalkeepers come here, right? And remember that you're being baited. Okay. There's no long touch. The ball's right on her foot. She's trying to get you to just come like a dart at her so she can slot it while you're moving underneath. So having the IQ to say, okay, I'm going to make you beat me. I'm going to, you know, because now you're not coming. So you didn't bite, and you're giving time for your defender to recover. So like we've talked about this so many times, the forward knows there's pressure coming. So now she has to make a decision. You didn't make it for her. And she's also taken herself into an angle, and you close that angle properly, it's going to allow you to make this save. Had she come out, which we see so many young goalkeepers do, say, oh my God, here comes 1v1. I got to go flying at her. You've just gotten baited, and that's in the back of the net.
Yeah, right here. Boom.
There's no long touch.
Yeah.
And to have the IQ, the goalkeeper IQ, to say, well, okay, she's not long touching it. She's keeping on her foot. She's keeping on her foot. So if I move forward right now, she's going to catch me on my movement. And so she waits. And I think she just does little micro movements to close the spaces, to close the angles, and she's got her.
I absolutely love that. It's just that lateral movement across, basically forcing her into a bad angle where she doesn't have a shot on goal. And it's just, I mean, she's got nothing here. She's got nothing.
I mean, if I was a coach for the other team, I would have told her to take a touch more central, like, you know, to cut in front of that defender that was recovering and either get taken down or have more of the goal to shoot at. So,
Nico, anything else you want to add to that before we move on to this next clip?
No, we can move on to LIU, I believe.
Yes. Oh, you knew right away.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is against LIU. I think you guys were up 1-0, right?
That was the final.
Right here. This is the final play?
No, that was the final score, 1-0.
Oh, the final score. No. So losing my voice here. In swinging cross to the top of the 18. It's a simple one. Hey, Ray.
Okay, guys.
How are you, man?
Was that new intro?
I love it, man. I love it. Are
you okay?
We're gonna start in a couple minutes right here, guys. If you're just checking in right here, that is the one and only Ray Newland, Just for Keepers himself. He just wrote a new book, Parents Guide for Goalkeepers. This is gonna be really, really awesome episode. So we're gonna be starting in a couple minutes right here. Ray, just to kind of give you a heads up, because I know you've never been on the show before. Panel discussion. Try to keep any sort of answers or responses to like a minute to 2 minutes at most. Just for editing purposes, it makes it easier if there's back and forth than just kind of long webinar type talk, you know?
Don't worry. As being a goalkeeper, Mike, I only know the words like, away, keepers. So I'll be okay with that.
Oh my gosh. And here's the one and only Saskia Weber. Hello, hello.
Hi, hey Ray.
Hey, Sika, you okay?
What?
I said, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. Sorry, I get tongue-tied. I said, are you okay?
I'm good.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
It's okay, Ray. She can't even pronounce her name properly. So
whatever, Mike.
So where I'm from, Saskia, from Liverpool, England, our mouths work faster than our brains. So
no, it's okay. I'm from the East Coast, so does mine.
Okay, brilliant.
Oh my gosh! All right, yeah, let's get started here. Here we go. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Majid, live from Hollywood, California. I just got a phone call literally as that was going on. So it completely threw me off on what was going on right here. With me, not dealing with a phone call right now, the one and only 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber, who's got a big show on CBS tomorrow. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, CBS is doing a 1-hour special on Angel City. So yours truly gets to be in studio for it, and they did a bunch of interviews with the owners, players, and everybody. So it should be really cool. It just came out as the number one team cost wise, so it's worth $180 million. Just
Jeez
came out.
Louise.
I
Wow.
know. So we're doing something right here in LA, right?
Well, somebody who's also valued at $180 million is
I didn't say I was. The team
is Just for Keepers himself, Ray Newland. Ray Newland, obviously founder of Just for Keepers, and obviously the author of this new book on the Parent's Guide for Goalkeeping. Ray, for some people out there who might not be familiar with you, they might be like, "Did you just find a crazy guy with a bunch of newspaper clippings in the back in Liverpool?" Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks very much for inviting me on the show. Obviously, I've known a lot about you for a long time, Michael. So, obviously, and I know that a lot of my followers obviously follow your your podcast, because obviously you put your podcast onto my followers. It gets shared and all that. So it's actually good to be on here. At long last. So thanks a million for the invite. Much appreciated, guys. But very, very quickly about myself. I'm originally from Liverpool, England. I've travelled all over the world. I've been very fortunate that goalkeeping's been my passion, my career. I started in goal when I was 8 years of age. I was professional goalkeeper for 10 years. And I was coached by 5 legends as a goalkeeper myself. I'll just name a few: Peter Bonetti, Gordon Banks, Peter Shilton, Neville Southall, absolute legends in the game. But my hobby, my passion, was always coaching. So even as a professional goalkeeper, every single professional football club I played for, bar one, I used to voluntarily coach all the younger goalkeepers. It's just sort of always been in my blood. And anyway, I got injured prematurely at 28 years of age, just as most goalkeepers are coming into their prime. But I realised that even when I come out as a young goalkeeper, and obviously this is sort of what my book's about as well, my journey with my father. As a young goalkeeper, there was never any specialist goalkeeping training for goalkeepers. You could only get, at the time in England, you could only go to like some professional academies like Liverpool or Manchester United. That was local to me. And if you were never good enough, which I was never good enough, I never played for any professional academy as a child. And I actually never came into the game until I was 18 years of age. It was very late when I got my opportunity. And again, I speak about that in the books, and obviously that inspires goalkeepers who are not at current professional clubs or where do you want to be. You know, I always say, listen, you've not lost your opportunity. Anyway, long story short, as I say, I wanted, when I come out of my professional career, like most ex-professionals, I got a job as a professional goalkeeping coach, and I very quickly realised I didn't like that. My forte, I loved doing around the grassroots. So I started just for keepers in 1998. Now, a long time ago, when I had hair, and my mission. Basically, just give young goalkeepers an opportunity that I never had. I wanted to create an academy that was basically like, Manchester United Academy or Chelsea Academy or Liverpool Academy, but minus all the politics, all the pressure. Now, I know a lot's changed over the years, but when I started this in 1998, even for like an 8-year-old, 10-year-old goalkeeper at an academy, it was absolutely brutal. The pressure on them was just ridiculous. It wasn't fair. So I wanted to create a different environment. Yet it was still a professional academy, but there was no pressure. It was all about fun. We were there to guide the mums and dads as well as guiding the students. Anyway, long story short, again, we went on to become in 37 countries. We've been across 6 continents. I don't want to use the word franchise because it's not a franchise what I do, but the best way to describe it is sort of like coaches. I set up a system where I help goalkeeping coaches create their own business, because a lot of goalkeeping coaches are fantastic goalkeeping coaches, but they just don't understand technology, social media. So with me being a bit of an entrepreneur as well, I sort of put a package together. I make it easy for goalkeeping coaches to literally, get the business off the ground, just focus on what's the most important thing is the children and helping the next generation of goalkeepers, and also helping the parents, which is something I'm massive on. And as I say, at our peak, we're in 37 countries across 6 continents. And I'm very proud to say that just for keepers, we've helped more goalkeepers achieve their dreams, and from proven results. I'm not just saying this, guys, from proven results, we've helped more goalkeepers achieve their dreams than any other goalkeeping organisation in history. And that's obviously not just me, by the way, guys. That's an army of 4K coaches.
I'm just gonna step in real quick, where just because I just want to, I can tell how passionate you are about it and everything, and I think definitely people are gonna enjoy the book and they're gonna enjoy learning all about it. But when you brought up the whole aspect of not understanding how to start your own business and social media and everything like that, Saskia, this is a conversation that we've had ourselves in regards to, there's a lot of great young coaches out there who are kind of lost in the shuffle because they just don't know how to market themselves properly.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm probably one of them too. Back in the day, I'm not a coach anymore. Kind of happy moved on from that too. But no, and I think even for us with not to do a infomercial, but I think with the union, with the platform that we set up, I think that actually makes it, we've put the tools in place to make it easier for goalkeepers and camps to set up a platform within that that's accessible for their players. We geofence it, the whole 9 yards. Like I said, I'm not doing an infomercial, but it helps, and you want to be able to get yourself out there. And I wasn't savvy at any of that either. For me, it was just like a phone call, a word of mouth and stuff when I did privates or when I started coaching and then got picked up by UCLA and stuff.
I think, especially Ray, when we're talking about like the beginnings, the foundational steps of a young coach and everything like that, and I think it's good for parents to hear this as well too, when we're looking for different, coaches for their kids. And when we're going to obviously talk about that later when we get into the book and everything, but is that you have some sort of a template to follow because it's brand new to you. And there's tried and true methods that have worked for people. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, right?
Right.
Definitely. Well, another thing, what Saskia was saying there is absolutely spot on, by the way, guys. And just to add to what you were saying, Saskia, is that another big problem as well, and hopefully this doesn't come across wrong because it's not meant to, because a lot of goalkeeping coaches and also outfielding coaches, they'll get their qualifications to get jobs in soccer, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying don't do that. But what happens is a lot of goalkeeping coaches, they get disheartened very quickly because, I've coached all over the world, and it doesn't matter, and thankfully it's getting better now, guys, but it doesn't matter what country you are in the world, at the governing bodies, there's too much politics. There's no need for politics in soccer. everybody should be treated equally. But the problem is you get these young goalkeeping coaches, and they put all the heart and effort into investing their time, their money, trying to get the coaching qualifications, and they never get the jobs that they deserve. And it's not because they're not good enough. And there's so many factors why they don't get the jobs. I'm not going to go into too much detail. One could be like, in England, we call it jobs for the boys or jobs for the girls, where someone will only get a coaching job, not necessarily because the qualification is because who they know. And again, I understand why that happens. But what happens here, guys, is that there's so many, like you said, Michael, so many amazing young goalkeeping coaches who actually, they'll start off with all the enthusiasm to help the next generation. But when they get to 21, 22, 23, when they're getting overlooked, they think, oh, well, I mustn't be a good goalkeeping coach. And it's not because of that. There's so many other, like politics, why they don't achieve the dreams. And that's why what you're saying there, Saskia, about having another, obviously I'm going to promote I'm going to do the information for you now. You guys have got your platform to help goalkeepers. I've got Just for Keepers. And I always believe that not every single goalkeeping coach, but I think the majority of goalkeeping coaches should yet still chase your dream and try and get all the qualifications you can, try and become the highest coach you can in your area or your country. But I always believe every goalkeeping coach should have their own little independent business going on the side. Even if, like you said, you're doing one-to-ones to start off with, Saskia, because you've got a plan B then. And what happens then, if a young goalkeeper's chasing the dreams, but they've got their own little goalkeeping schools going on, at least they're finding success because they've got the students coming to them week in, week out, and that allows them to grow. Because I just think we lose far too many young goalkeeping coaches, before they're 25, because they lose heart, because they think they're going to get the qualifications, and they think the qualification is going to automatically give them the job that they want, and that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. And for the most part, it's not their fault, guys.
No, of course. And I think, Saskia, one of the things I love what Ray just said there in regards to like jobs for the boys, jobs for the girls, that sort of thing. I think, obviously speaking about, the game, in the past, and it's improving and everything like that. But I mean, this, we were discussing this in regards to how many goalkeeper coaches, at the Division I level in the top clubs, had played Division I, women's soccer, had played Division II women's soccer, played Division III women's soccer, and how many of them were, expatriates from somewhere else that were just thrown into the system. And then the more and more we can develop players that can go on to become coaches, the more that's going to improve the quality of the education for everybody out there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even with Angel City, with our Player 22 program, and Washington's doing a similar program, and I'm pretty sure the whole league will start doing it, and every team is just developing those pro players while they're playing, and starting that then, so that when they step out, they can step into coaching. They have the experience at a certain level, whether it's coaching or into the front office and stuff. And so we give them that opportunity, because sometimes when you don't think about it when you're playing, and then you stop playing and you're like, what am I going to do now? And you're kind of, and I've always said this, you're kind of starting in a sense behind the 8 ball a little bit, because you retire in your 30s and now you're trying to start your company, or you're trying to start, your side gig and everything. And you're behind in a sense, and you have to play catch up. So starting it while you're like getting an idea of how to do it, getting your licenses, whatever, while you're playing, helps you kind of have a path for when you retire.
I want to say this though, Ray, like, because I think the thing is that the jobs for the boys it's always going to stay, the networking, and relationships is going to be forever. But if we can properly prepare these coaches who do get those opportunities, we're going to be better off for it. I think that's the thing as well. I want to segue. I want to go into the parents thing, because I think
the other thing, goalkeeper coaches out there, so you don't get discouraged, but that how many goalkeeper coaches are there at a club per field coaches? So there aren't as many job opportunities out there for a goalkeeper coach, for something so specific. You might, here in America, you might have one director of goalkeeping for like 30 teams. And maybe a couple like assistants that don't get paid or something, but basically that's it. And as opposed to, you have a coach per team for 30 teams, you know, so there aren't as many opportunities. So don't get discouraged, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Definitely. And just before you mention the book, Michael, again, what you said
Sure.
there, Saskia, is completely spot on. And what a lot of people don't realize is that 95%, you know, it's only the small minority of goalkeeping coaches actually go on to earn the income that they desire in a job. You know, the majority of goalkeeping coaches out there are voluntary goalkeeping coaches. So I think, you know, whether it's the US soccer, whether it's the English FA, I think they should bring something in that also teaches goalkeeping coaches to be entrepreneurs as well. So you've got two choices. So as they're going through the certification, they get the certification to get those, obviously that important certificate to get the jobs. But for those ones that might not get the job, or they might not want a job, at least they've learned those entrepreneurial skills to go, you know what, I actually, you know, I can't get that job, or I don't want that job for whatever reason, but you know what, I'm going to start my own little goalkeeping schools in my area. I can go and coach 10, 20, 50, 100 goalkeepers. And I definitely think, doesn't matter what country, I think every soccer governing organisation, I say, like, whether it's the US soccer or the English FA, they should bring in some type of business with every certification. And I just think the whole, never mind goalkeeping, outfielding as well. How amazing would it be that if someone couldn't become a goalkeeping coach at their chosen club, rather than them get fed up and disheartened and they quit, they can go, you know what, at least they're still in the system, at least they're still doing something, at least they're still giving back and helping the next generation. So I think you definitely should be looking at things like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You know, Saskia, I'd never even thought about that. That's one of those mind exploding moments we have on these podcasts for me. Because like, I can't just tell you how many times I've just been thinking about, like, I literally had to learn this by myself. No one ever taught me how to start an academy, how to find clients, how to do any of that stuff. And I think also on the outfield side, I think that'd be great too if the federation did that, because the simple matter is that, like, a lot of the young players out there, and this is, you know, kind of segueing into the parents, you know, helping their goalkeepers. It's not necessarily they're finding the right coaches for their kids. They're finding the ones that are the best business savvy people who are marketing themselves out there for their kids. Yeah.
Definitely.
Is that one of those rhetorical questions?
No, it's squeaky wheel, right? You might not be the best, but if you're the loudest and you're out there, people are going to migrate towards you.
Yeah.
Good thing on that, Michael. One of the points I'm going to make, and it's actually in the book, is how it educates parents how to get the right goalkeeping coach for their child. And it's not necessarily, like we said, Saskia, it's not the ones with the squeaky wheel. It's not necessarily everyone thinks who's the best coach in their state, because it's like, yeah, I'll go through that when you start speaking about the book, Michael, because that's super important, because I want to empower parents to be able to help their goalkeeping child achieve their dreams.
So let's go into let's directly go into that right here. First off, like, Ray, before we kind of go into that, can you just explain a little bit of, like, what is the difference between being a goalkeeper parent versus an outfield parent? Because I think a lot of parents out there, you know, definitely feel isolated, because a lot of times they're the one or only the two parents on a club team that are dealing with the same circumstances.
One big word, guys: ignorance. A complete ignorance towards the position of goalkeeping. So you get a lot of parents on the line, and also as well you get a lot of coaches, by the way, as well, not just the parents. So even coaches and again, Saskia, you'll understand what I'm saying, and obviously you will as well, Michael. But you know, you get a coach that, you know, they might have been a fantastic outfielding player, they might be an amazing coach, but they still don't know anything about goalkeeping, but they will never admit to that. And I remember seeing it very quickly, guys. I remember seeing an interview with Arsene Wenger, and this was years ago when David Seaman was playing for Arsenal. And David Seaman, I forgot what happened. I think he made a mistake or something. And the commentator asked Arsene Wenger, who's a Premiership manager, "Hey, what do you think the problem was with David Seaman and making that mistake?" And he went, "Hey, you need to go and ask the goalkeeping coach. I'm not." And that's on it. So that was like Arsene Wenger, a Premiership manager, saying, "Hey, I don't know anything about goalkeeping." But yeah, you get parents on the line, you get coaches who, again, I'm not knocking them as a coach, by the way, guys. Okay, yeah, but they all think because they know goalkeeping because they watch a bit of it on TV. So for me, it's ignorance. And what happens is when a goal goes in, because the parents on the line, even the coaches don't understand why that goal went in. You know, was it the left back was too out of place? Was the defense? You know, did the defense drop too far on the goalkeeper, so the goalkeeper couldn't obviously get their angle? And obviously, you know yourself again, Saskia, and yourself, Michael, when the defense drops too deep as a goalkeeper, you've got to drop deep yourself, and that puts you in the wrong position. So there's so many things that happens in a game that parents don't understand, coaches don't understand. They just go, "Oh, it's the goalkeeper's fault." So ignorance, guys, and as I say, there's too many people who quickly blame the goalkeeper. Even as I say, you know, guys, I could give you 10,000 examples. Obviously, I won't, but yeah, for me, just horror stories that I've heard where, you know, young goalkeepers' confidence has been completely destroyed because of comments on the line, and the coaches. The coaches,
absolutely.
They should be stopped. They should be stopping, nipping it on the butt. The coaches, never mind goalkeepers, outfielders as well. They shouldn't allow any parent to shout any criticism towards any child playing.
And again, Ray, I can tell how passionate you are about this, and so obviously you're in this for the right reasons, type of a thing. Like, you know, I think Saskia, you know, one of the things that Ray was bringing up right there that I think is really important for parents out there to hear is that a lot of the times they're in a situation where they are the only one who has any sort of understanding of the goalkeeping world because they have a goalkeeper as a child, and they're literally dealing with coaches and other parents and everyone else who isn't familiar. And I think that really goes back to coaching education on the club side, that the club needs to do a better job of teaching everyone about the position. I mean, they don't need to be goalkeeping experts, but they need to have some sort of semblance of understanding so that these kids aren't just being thrown into the wild type of a thing. And now the parent feels like, well, what am I paying for if these people don't even know what's necessary for my child?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we see it all the time, and it trickles onto field players as well, especially at the younger ages, that the kid and you know, they'll turn on their goalkeeper as well. If the parents are doing it and they don't have an understanding of why the goal went in, like, you know, where was the pressure on the ball? Was the goalkeeper telling you to do something and you didn't do it, and you put the goalkeeper into a bad situation? Well, parents don't understand that. They don't see it that way. So you see them start yelling at the keeper, and that trickles into the field onto their kids as well. And like so many times I've been there and I've had to stop practice and just be like, bring the team in and be like, look, you know, like, enough, you know, and it's coming from the sideline into their kids. Now you have a goalkeeper that doesn't who wants to play goalkeeper in that situation, you know? So the education of the parents on the sideline is paramount, you know, because it'll trickle. It's like a cancer. It'll go onto, you know, it'll spread. And, you know, so it's so important. If you're going to yell something, know what you're talking about, you know, like, or don't say anything at all.
Definitely.
You know, and one thing, you know, I want to say right here is, like, you know, and I love the way kind of you've broken everything down, Ray, in this book in regards to, these are a lot of different areas that I think are really, really important for parents out there. And I want to give a shout out to somebody like Angie Bryan, you know, who runs a wonderful Facebook group for parents. And now she's going to be working with the union, creating our entire parent library of content and interactive forums and town halls and all that stuff. Because it's really important to have these conversations and keep the interactions, the communications going, but with parents, you know, like, there has to be communication. And a lot of these topics that you're putting right here are things that I'm asked all the time, you know. I mean, even just something as like choosing the correct shape goalkeeper glove for your child's shaped hands. I mean, like, Saskia, how many times do you get asked about that, about gloves?
I get asked about gloves all the time. And it's, you know, and the funny thing is, you know, kids are like kids. They see something shiny and they're like, I want that. And it's like, it might not be the right thing for you, you know, but definitely. You know, and it's important to understand what is the good glove. Go try them on, figure out what's right. Don't get it like a $200 game glove and send your kid to practice in it every day, like, and then wonder why it fell apart a week later. Like, you know, there's a lot that goes into it.
Oh,
one of the biggest mistakes that parents of goalkeepers make, and also young goalkeepers as well. They always choose the goalkeeping glove that their favorite goalkeeper wears.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and for example, if their favorite goalkeeper is, their hand shape is for roll finger, for example, and the young goalkeeper's hand shape is negative cut, as I say, it's like, and that, that's, it's only very minute, but it's a massive mistake, and it can cost, as it can cost goals, guys. It's like, it's super important to get the correct shaped goalkeeping glove for your shaped hands.
Yeah, it makes me think about when we were at UCLA, like they would just order the equipment, right? So like I come in, I'm like, what are these gloves? Like, and my goalkeepers would look at me, I'm just like, let me work on it, when I first came in. And so then like the next year it was like, okay, like I had to go sit with the equipment manager and go through the gloves and pick the right gloves and pick, game gloves and stuff like that. And obviously I have to pick from Nike at that point, but still it was, just the coaches not knowing and them doing the equipment before that and just be like, oh yeah, those gloves, whatever, they're blue and yellow, so let's just get those because that's UCLA colors,
Yeah. They just think goalkeeping gloves is goalkeeping gloves.
Oh, they have no idea. And I tried to explain to them, I said, you can't order the same pair of boots for every single player. And you wouldn't, and you have to ask what, because their foot's different. And they're like, really? Gloves are like that? And I'm like, yeah, really, they are. And these are coaches,
I mean, and it's also, Ray, I mean, it's also, from a mental health standpoint and a mindset performance standpoint, it's about confidence too. Like, so if you feel comfortable with what you're wearing, you're going to be more successful in your actions in a game than if you're kind of, doubting, or you don't feel comfortable, or it hurts your hand, or it's too big, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, how many times have you seen a young goalkeeper, and they spend most of the game fiddling with the goalkeeping gloves, and they're like, because subconsciously they're like, these, what's the matter with the gloves? Because for the most part, they're wearing the wrong shaped goalkeeping gloves. And yourself, guys, as a goalkeeper, if you're not 1,000% concentrating on the game, that split second of you going, oh, my gloves, you've lost that concentration. And as crazy as it sounds, that actually does cost goals. Just that little lack of concentration, trying to fix your gloves, because just something doesn't feel right, like you said, Michael. And I always say to my students, I don't know if you guys have ever said this, I always say, look, when you've got the right pair of goalkeeping gloves on for your shaped hands, because it doesn't even feel like you've got a pair of goalkeeping gloves on, because, pardon the pun, it fits like a glove. So.
No, it's true.
That's very true. Let's go into this topic right here, because I think this is really important in regards to the importance of picking the correct football team for your child. So, Ray, kind of break down like what was kind of like your idea for putting this in the book, and how do parents go about finding this? And I think there's some really good little inserts in here, so I'm just kind of going to throw some stuff up there for people can read.
Brilliant. Well, on that note as well, sorry guys, as well, there's a lot more points I could have put in this book. That's why these free resources. Because if I put everything, because all this book, by the way, guys, is like all the most common asked questions that I've been asked by literally tens of thousands of parents of goalkeepers over the past 2 decades. So obviously I couldn't put everything in there, as I say. So there's like free resources where they can go and get, I think it's like 50 videos where it's actually me just verbally, for example, how to deal with big goals if you're a small goalkeeper. So for example, I've done them in like a video, and it's all completely free of charge, guys. But I wanted to put this in, guys, because you just reminded me of a story there, Mike, and you guys might have heard this. So I won't mention the Premiership Football Club, but there's too many parents. So I actually lived in Florida for 2 years as I was building Just to Keepers USA, but I had to come back because of family issues. Now in the USA, all the parents want to be in the best soccer club, in their states, which I understand why they do that. But in England, it's like, right, we've got to be at Manchester United Academy, we've got to be at Liverpool Academy. I remember going back years and years ago, 15 years ago now, and a parent would come to me all excited. It was like, Ray, my son has just been picked to play for this Premiership Academy. I won't mention the name to embarrass the goalkeeping coach. Now, I personally knew the goalkeeping coach, lovely guy, but to be honest with you guys, so going back to what we said before, the only reason why he was at the club is because who he knew, not his goalkeeping coaching skills, shall we say. So I said to the parent, look, it's fantastic. I'm really proud that your son is at XYZ Professional Football Academy. But look, I personally know the goalkeeping coach.
Mhm.
Your son is not going to develop under this goalkeeping coach. And the
Mhm.
parents like, yeah, but Ray, it's XYZ Premiership Football Club. It's like, yeah, I get that, but
Yeah,
you've
but
got to
what's the
listen to
goal? Mhm.
Exactly.
your child's going to be with the goalkeeping coach. And honestly, the conversation went on for like 10 minutes, but I kept saying, but look, you've got to look at the goalkeeping coach. And his answer was, but Ray, it's XYZ
Yeah.
Football Club. And again, parents are
Well,
just blinded.
I just had this discussion. Well, we just dealt with that with Morgan,
Yeah.
Farm, and it's the same, even picking universities. If parents out there, if you're looking at it for your kid going to college, what is the goal? I mean, obviously college is the goal, like, and an education, but nowadays, if you're aspiring to go play pro, which we know Morgan is and everything like that, where are you going to develop the best, and what goalkeeper coach is going to be the best for you? And we had a really serious conversation about that. And I'm not going to say which coaches I'm talking about either, but I was just like, certain people I wouldn't really call them a coach. I'd call them a trainer. Like, and I was just like, I think they're going to set up great drills for you and stuff like that, but you need to develop to get to the goals that you want, which is to play pro. And we know that. And so I'm super stoked she's going to Rutgers. I think it was a great choice for her and a great fit for her. And there's a great goalkeeper coach there, and they are, it's called Goalkeeper U because they develop great goalkeepers, not toot my own horn, but, Casey Murphy and stuff like that. But you have to look at that. And I agree with you. Oh, well, I want to go to UCLA because they won the championship, or I want to go to UNC because they won the championship. They're always the best, but is that the best place for you to develop for what you want to be in the future?
Exactly. Yeah.
And Ray, I mean, that brings up such a great point, because if that was the case, then every national team around the world, all their goalkeepers would be at the top clubs in the world. And that's not the case. That's not the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, spot on, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at the youth academy level, because I think, Ray, as we're talking about, when we're talking about like the foundational ages, and when we're getting back to this topic of finding the right club, it's about finding a club that is right for the level of development of your young goalkeeper at the time. If they're 17, their needs are going to be different than their needs at 9, right?
100%. And again, I briefly mentioned this in the book, guys, that literally, the most important thing that parents should be looking after, guys, is their child's mindset. And to me, a parent has got to try and keep it fun with no pressure on the children whatsoever. And again, that's what the book's all about, etc. But for me, it's like, and again, I mentioned this in the book, that if a child could be at the best football club in the USA, but if their child is unhappy, not getting the support from the coaches, the parent needs to take that child out and put them in another soccer club where the child is happy and is going to get that support that they deserve. Because especially at a young age, guys, because parents of goalkeepers think that being at a big club at 7 years of age or 10 years of age or 12 years of age is important. It's not important at all. We always say in the UK, in England, or whatever we coach all over the world, that for goalkeepers, even though that they train hard, etc., they should train hard, etc. Most goalkeepers don't make a decision whether they want to make a career out of goalkeeping until they're like 13, 14 years of age. Anyway, so up until that period, parents should only be making sure that it's fun. There's no pressure on their child, and any coach that obviously can potentially damage their mindset, we need to get them away as fast as possible.
And honestly, the best, we say this all the time here, Mike, in the sense of like, okay, like when we'd have to recruit goalkeepers, okay, great. When we go to the games, we go to tournaments, we watch, they're on the best ECNL team in the state and everything like that. And I didn't see you catch a ball. I didn't see the ball come near you. I haven't seen anything. Like we always say, you have to show up for warm-ups for certain clubs so you can actually see the goalkeeper train, because you don't see him play. So being on the number one team while you're developing as a goalkeeper might not be the best thing for you to develop either. You need to see the game. You need to see action. You need to play. So standing back there, fiddling with your gloves for 90 minutes isn't going to make you the best goalkeeper either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a great point. So let's now like kind of verve kind of the topic into like finding the right goalkeeper coach for your child. So let's say you found the right club and you're looking for some supplemental training, Ray. And I know you're very passionate about this in regards to the fact that, like, I don't want to say that there's nefarious, situations going on with clubs in regards to, goalkeeper coaching, but obviously the goalkeeper coach is there to provide service for the club, to develop goalkeepers for the club to be successful and move on to the first team. It's not about the development of your goalkeeper for themselves. So that's why you've been always so passionate about goalkeepers looking for a little bit of outside tutelage as well too, right?
100%. And I've got one word in a moment that can help parents find the correct goalkeeping coach. And I'm going to touch on something what Saskia said before as well. Where it's like, you get these goalkeeping coaches, because I'm not saying that goalkeeping coaches in their own independent businesses, I'm not saying that they're all good, by the way. Like anything in life, guys, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But like what Saskia was saying before, if you might have a goalkeeping coach who's amazing at marketing, but they don't know how to coach goalkeepers. And again, something I want to touch what Saskia said as well before. You get these goalkeeping coaches, guys, that they're not coaches, they're trainers, and they'll have that much apparatus at the training sessions. They have dummies, hurdles, and like the keepers climbing over hurdles.
And it looks great. It looks interesting.
And the children will come off and go, "Wow, that's amazing." And mums and dads will go, "Wow, that must be fantastic." But the kids, the keepers are learning nothing. They didn't
learn anything. You're just reconditioning bad habits because you're a trainer, you're not a coach. You're not breaking things down, teaching them their balance is off, their set positions off, or anything. You're just making like an obstacle course for the kid to go through for 90 minutes, for an hour.
and I think that's a lot of goalkeeping coaches who deep down know that they might not necessarily have the skills to develop the keepers, and it's a way of hiding that as well. But another massive problem as well, guys, very quickly, and the reason why unfortunately parents sometimes pick the wrong goalkeeping coach is that they're either recommended by someone, another parent who doesn't understand goalkeeping, or unfortunately, and I think I mentioned this to you once before, Michael, unfortunately, I've seen this so many times, and I can't understand why a fellow goalkeeping coach could do this to a child, where if a goalkeeper is at a club and that goalkeeper says to that club or the club goalkeeping coach, "I've got an opportunity to go and get some independent goalkeeping coaching." I've heard this hundreds of times, guys, sadly. The goalkeeping coach or the club has said, "If you go to that independent goalkeeping coach, we're going to cut you from the team." Now, how adults can stop a child developing like that is beyond words, to be honest with you. I just don't understand why. Is it financial why they're doing it? Is it because they don't, I think a part of it's financial. I think
or there's a certain amount of like blowback from that. Like they say they're good. You see it happen all the time where they do get the outside coaching and stuff. And now all of a sudden you're not starting. Now all of a sudden you're sitting on the bench because you didn't pay the goalkeeper coach. It's part of the club to coach you on the side. Right. You went somewhere else and now you've fallen out of favor somehow, and that's ridiculous. It's not cool.
On the opposite end, I think, what's happened, Ray, is that there's been a lot of bad actors out there. So a lot of, young players have gone to work with independent goalkeeper coaches that have relationships with other clubs. And they essentially start bad-mouthing the club that they're with and say, "Oh, you need to go to blah, blah, blah." So as young goalkeeper coaches, you need to understand, you
have to be independent.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to start, you're going to have your own company in a sense. That company's got to be independent. You're there to train and to educate the keeper as the keeper, not because you're filtering them to a certain club. You're not bad-mouthing another club. Don't bad-mouth another coach. Just teach.
Honestly, guys,
go ahead, Rick.
Sorry. I was saying the amount of times that just for keepers could have been associated with professional clubs all over the world, and it would have been sort of good for J4K for just for keepers, but we said no, sorry. Like you said there, Saskia, we're independent, because as soon as you start teaming up with other people, you lose that independency. And we're like, no, we're here for the goalkeepers, or we're here for the parents of the goalkeepers. That's it. We don't want to get involved in any politics. We're here just to coach. But I've just got one very quickly, Michael, one word that will help parents decide whether, will help them pick the right goalkeeping coach. And it's it's just literally results. Doesn't matter what people say, hey, I did this in my other country. I was a international. I've got all the best qualifications in the world. Like you said before, Sasha, these guys, as I say, they could be good marketers. All parents have got to look at is they just go, okay, great, okay, what's your results? What proven results have you got for your students? And if you can look at a goalkeeping coach,
and that's why I said, like, look at Rutgers, look at their proven results and their lineage of where their goalkeepers are going. Like they do go pro, they go to national teams, they go on. Those are results. They're tangible. There they are,
It's funny that you say that because it's just making me think, Saskia, in regards to, like, for obviously some of our American audience here, in American football, the quarterback, in the NFL, a lot of times the quarterbacks that are the highest level quarterbacks in the NFL did not play at the most elite college programs. They went to programs that developed quarterbacks to play at that next type of level. So I think that is so important. And Ray, I think also another thing too that's really important is that I love that you say here is that have open discussions with different goalkeeper coaches and explore out there, and don't just work with one person on the side and your club. Then it starts becoming very cultish, and now you're not really preparing your young goalkeeper for the fact that they're going to be dealing with multiple goalkeeper coaches throughout their entire career.
Honestly, and this is super important. What I'm going to say, probably the most important thing I'm going to say, guys, and I tried to explain it in the book. Hopefully you did. Parents think, oh, it's a specialized position, I'll trust the goalkeeping coach. And listen, I'm not saying don't trust the goalkeeping coach. I can contradict myself here. But so parents will just go, yeah, we'll just leave it to the goalkeeping coaches. No, you don't, okay? You get educated. It's like when I took my children to martial arts, obviously I never tried to teach martial arts, but what I did is I got as educated as I could to find out, obviously, what's the right martial arts and what's the right teachers to go, in my area, which was Liverpool, when my hometown at the time. So parents need to empower themselves by getting educated as best they can. Again, I'm not suggesting that they go and start coaching their goalkeeping child. But if you get educated a bit, at least they'll know that, where the goalkeeping child should be going to or where they shouldn't be going to. Like you said before, Saskia, these goalkeeping coaches who have got like apparatus everywhere, and it's more like a circus than a goalkeeping training session. If parents can go, hold on a minute, well, what's going on here? No, this is not right. And again, they don't have to be confrontational with the coach. They could be polite, or then they might go, you know what, I'm probably best trying somewhere else. So if they empower themselves just to get slightly educated, I promise you guys, they can really help their goalkeeping child to achieve their dreams.
Yeah.
I want to say this in regards to, before we kind of move on from this right here, Ray, is I like one of the things, and that is the simple fact is, like, just because somebody has these accolades and these credentials and is known as a top goalkeeper coach in the world, they might not be the right fit for my goalkeeper, for my young goalkeeper. I can't tell you how many times, Ray, I've seen a high level goalkeeper coach doesn't know how to work with 8 or 9 year olds, and that's just not their environment, but people sign up with them anyway and pay $200, $300 an hour, insane amounts, just because of their name, when ex-coach who may not have played professionally and might have played only in college or even at the youth club level, but knows how to work with 8 to 9 and 10 year olds and understands child development, would be a way better choice for them.
Absolutely. That's true. I mean, I can tell you, when I first started coaching, I was like, please give me the older kids. Please give me the older kids. But it took time for me as a coach to learn how to break things down, and really, it's a totally different type of coaching, and really how to develop a young child. And so you're spot on, Mike. You have to research that. You can't just say, oh, so and so's the best, here's my kid. It might not be the best fit for that age.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Sorry, Michael. Sorry, go to you.
I was just going to say that, like, if I look at my car right now, people will say, like, man, you have a lot of size 4 balls. Well, first off, those get lost all the time because kids shoot them all over the place when they're the little ones like there. But second of all, a lot of people come to me working with foundational younger goalkeepers, not trying to toot my own horn or whatever, but it's an environment that I'm comfortable with, and I enjoy that process of working with those youngers type of a thing. You need to find a coach that enjoys that aspect of the development for your goalkeeper. So maybe work with me at 8, 9, 10, and then I say, hey, you know what? You should
Go
go to
find
Saskia.
Saskia.
She's great. She's great for 13, 14, 15, and then
Yep.
find, Ray for 17, 18, 19, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. We need to be more comfortable as goalkeeper coaches understanding our role.
Or understanding
Definitely.
our strengths
Yeah.
and our weaknesses and being okay with that. Obviously continue to learn and teach yourself so you can be strong across the board, but absolutely, Mike, and be humble enough to be able to say that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Put your ego
and
to
I
one
think
side, guys.
What?
But
the ego to
a lot of goalkeeping coaches should put their ego to one side
Absolutely.
and remember it's about their students. It's not about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such an important thing too, Ray, because I think a lot of things is that a lot of goalkeeper coaches out there think that if I'm not coaching the first team at Chelsea, or maybe not Chelsea right now, but the first team at Man City right now, I'm not the best goalkeeper. I'm not the best goalkeeper coach, or I'm not a good goalkeeper coach, or whatever. As opposed to understanding, wow, you know what? I have a service that I provide, that I'm really good at for what my skill sets are. And I'm going to look for
100%.
opportunities and the right clients for my skill set.
Well, I'm quite vocal about this. I know, like, a lot of videos that I've done on YouTube over the years, and when I've obviously written my blogs, etc. So for me, I actually think the easy job is to get a job at a professional football club. To be honest with you guys, for me, I think it's a lot harder job to actually coach independently, because if you're in a job and you've got a contract, you can let's just say, so you can go through the motions if you've got a 1 year or a 2 year contract. Now, look, eventually you will get found out. But if you're an independent goalkeeping coach, guys, if you're not doing an amazing job week in, week out, you will lose, quite rightly so as well, you'll lose your business very quickly. So you've got to be amazing at what you do. And the reason why I'm not saying having a job as a coach is bad, by the way, guys, far from it. I respect any goalkeeping coach. But for me, independent goalkeeping coaches have a much bigger impact on the goalkeeping community. So if you go through your career just coaching in professional clubs, you might coach 10, 20 goalkeepers a year. But if you're in your own business, you could be coaching 100, 200, 300 goalkeepers a year. So over 10 years, I just think that you have so much of a bigger impact on the goalkeeping community and children. So for me, I've got so much more respect. I'm not saying that I disrespect coaches in jobs, by the way, guys, far from it. But I've got so much respect for goalkeeping coaches that are independent and for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because they've had such an amazing impact on hundreds and thousands of goalkeepers.
I mean, I can just think of it just even in Southern California here alone, Saskia, there's, coaches like Ian Foyer who, for the most part has been primarily independent despite some time in MLS and he's now with the LA Galaxy. But, Patrick Seymour, I mean, there's a lot of ones out there who've done a lot of great stuff in the Southern California area. And I apologize, I'm not mentioning other people in the Southern California area or around the United States, but for brevity, I'm just using those examples. Right.
I love that you felt like you had to apologize.
Well, I just don't want anyone to be like, well, why you didn't mention Juan Cervantes, or like what's like
well, just with the rolling credits, just with the rolling credits, just put them all up. Just be like, it'll be at the credits at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Just like when you go to like the Marvel movies and it's like a 4-hour trailer,
exactly.
credits at the end.
I think it's okay, Mike.
We want to make sure that everyone gets represented.
There you go.
Ray, as we start wrapping up, and I appreciate you taking this time, because I know you got obviously a lot going on with the businesses and everything, and we're really excited for the launch of the book and everything. But one thing that you said that was really important that you wanted to really stress on the podcast today was protecting your child's mindset. And how important it is for parents to understand that this is their journey, not the parents' journey.
100%. Again, I've seen it so many times, guys, where, it's like so many parents want their child to gain a college scholarship or become a professional more than the child. And again, you've got to find a fine balance as a parent. Obviously, as parents, we've got to motivate and push our children, obviously, to achieve their dreams, because if we don't, they'll probably end up being in the bedroom on the computers all day. But it's just finding that fine line as a parent, not to go too far, where it just there's just too much. You put too much pressure on your own child to, hey, you've got to do this to gain a college scholarship, or you've got to do this to become a professional goalkeeper. And what happens then? It takes all the fun out of it for the child, and I've seen so many parents over the years, sadly, ruin the chances for their child to do something special because they were living their life through their children's eyes. And you've got to be very careful. It's a fine line.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Saskia, I think the number one thing in regards to parents with kind of living vicariously through their goalkeepers is a lot of times parents will be like, oh, if this were me, and a lot of young goalkeeper coaches do the exact same thing. Oh, this is how I would do it. As opposed to thinking, well, everyone's different, and what works for you might not necessarily work for your young child, especially when they're 9 years old playing in a goal that's a little too big for them.
Keep it fun. Before we finish, can I just mention three quick things to bring everything together, if that's okay, guys? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So as I said, I've been doing this for 2 decades now, guys. So what I always try and instill into parents, and to keep it easy, and something like you mentioned before as well, Mike, the first thing is you've got to protect their mindset, okay? But I'm going to put 3 little points underneath. So protect your child's mindset, super important. And then to break it down into 3 points, number 1, just make everything fun with no pressure, especially if they're young. Just try your best to make it fun, no pressure. It doesn't mean that you don't take the goalkeeping seriously. You do, but you can still make it fun with no pressure, because I promise you, your child will develop a lot faster. Number 2 is about picking the right goalkeeping coach and mentors, which we've already spoke about, guys. And it's not just about goalkeeping coaches, it's about mentors as well that can teach them, obviously, the mental side of goalkeeping, which obviously we've not gone into. And number 3, guys, as well, have a game plan each year for your children. So from year 7 to 12, I always just say, keep it fun. Don't worry about what clubs they play for. They just need to be in a club where they feel safe, secure, supported. That's it. And as they get to 12 to 15 and they start taking it seriously, then you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe now they need to get into the bigger clubs. Maybe now they need to get into the academies. Now they really need to get the good goalkeeping coaches now. Then when they get to 15 plus, as long as obviously they've been getting the correct goalkeeping coaching, they then should be ready to go for trials or recruitment days, or trying to sell themselves by contacting colleges or pro clubs. And that's when it starts getting serious. So number 1, make it fun. Number 2, pick the right mentors. Number 3, just have a game plan. But remember, start off when they're young. It's all about fun and no pressure. And as they get older, and when you realise they're serious, that's when you go, okay, now we get a goalkeeping coach in. Now we start preparing them, obviously, for, obviously playing at a higher level.
Yeah, and last thing I want to say with that, to add on to that, Ray, with you, Saskia, and this is obviously something that we discuss all the time, don't eliminate other activities too early in their development. Let them continue to explore all sorts of different things, not just athletic things, but academic pursuits, creative pursuits, all those things, because that well-rounded person is going to be more beneficial member of society than a goalkeeping robot.
Yeah, and let them, because you don't know. It's not just, okay, you're 5, you're going to be a goalkeeper.
Yes.
You might. I had really great goalkeeper at the Bulls, Brody, and he's a surfer now, and a competitive surfer, and I think it's great. I'm like, all right, because it wasn't just like, go do whatever you want to do, and he loved surfing as well, and he did multiple things, and he said, all right, goalkeeping was what it was, and it was fun, and people could have just said, no, you're a good goalkeeper, you just have to be a goalkeeper, that's all you're going to do, and now he's a competitive surfer, and I'm like, good on you, better on the body, I think. Good on you.
Very quickly, guys, have you heard of Paul Dalglish?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah. Paul Dalglish?
You heard of Paul Dalglish? I think he was the manager of Miami, wasn't he, last time, I think? I know he's a coach in the US. I know he was one of the coaches, I think, in one of the Miami teams. But very quickly, a friend of mine sent me a text message literally a couple of days ago, and Paul Dalglish said, and this is Paul Dalglish, who knows a lot more than what I do in terms of, obviously, players coming through the system. 97% of young scholars who get to 17, 18, 19 don't go on to play professional.
Exactly.
97%.
Exactly.
So make it, like you say there, Saskia, make it fun. They could all become surfers.
They could all become surfers. Absolutely. I mean, I have parents that'll come to me with really, really, really young kids and just be like, well, okay, what club should I send my kid to? They want to play soccer. And I'm like, hold on, my phone's ringing on my computer, and that's annoying. And I'm like, your kid's like 4, like 5.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Crazy.
go to AYSO,
Yeah.
like, and see if they even want to go back next year. I'm like, don't drop a couple $1,000 into the club. Just go let them have fun. Go play AYSO, and then let them go play AYSO, whatever it's called, softball, or AAU basketball or whatever, and see what they want.
It's funny. As we end this right here, I just want to share a little story. It's like a friend of mine. He played for FC Utrecht in the Eredivisie, a professional goalkeeper, and his son was, I think he's like 10 or 11, and he was like, why isn't he playing on X academy team and blah, 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 or whatever? And he's like, because it's his journey and it's his call on what he wants to do. Yeah. And it's just this year at 11 years old that he's decided, you know what, Dad, I want to focus on goalkeeping. He was doing a bunch of other things, martial arts, baseball, all this sort of stuff. He's just decided 11 now, I want to be a goalkeeper. And he's like, okay, cool. Now let's get at it. Now let's do it.
Exactly.
But he found another goalkeeper coach to work with his son, because now there's not that parent-son relationship going on right there. And he's trusting that goalkeeper coach, regardless of whether he agrees with his activities and his methodology or not, to work with his son, because again, it's his son's journey. And I think that's the difference between somebody who's been at the highest level and a parent who's living vicariously through their child. I'm just sharing that experience right there. So
no, spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome, Ray, because you got a little link right here for our insiders right here, so they can download the book for free and share it out with their friends. Obviously, if they want to get a hard copy, they get it on the website and everything. But really appreciate you doing this. I think a lot of parents are going to benefit from this. So this link is live now, right?
Yes, it's live. Yeah, so you'll be able to just click the link and download the book completely free of charge, guys. Yeah, so there's no upsells or any of that nonsense. It's completely free, guys.
We really, really appreciate that. And obviously, Ray, you got some great stuff going on with Just for Keepers. If you want to plug Just for Keepers before we wrap up right here, feel free.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, as I say, it's like we've been going for 20 odd years now, you know what I mean? So it's just like, if anyone is looking for a free goalkeeping training session, we have got goalkeeping coaches all over the world, across the US as well. We did get hit quite heavily with COVID like everyone else, but we're now getting back to our pre-COVID, etc., guys, but yeah, just check us out. And even if you don't find a goalkeeping coach through Just for Keepers, if it's not in your area, we've literally got, just tons and hours and hours and hours of free help and advice, and it's all completely free for goalkeepers, for parents of goalkeepers, and even for goalkeeping coaches as well. People go, Ray, why are you helping your competition? Why are you helping other goalkeeping coaches? And I'm like, well, look, because the goalkeeping community is bigger than me. You know what I mean? As I say, for me, I just want to help young goalkeepers achieve their dreams. If I can help someone become a competitor of mine, I really don't care, guys, because if they're going to go and help the next generation of keepers, that's what the Just for Keepers ethics is all about. So we not only help parents and goalkeepers, we also help goalkeeping coaches as well, guys.
I mean, absolutely. And guys, if you want to be helping the goalkeeping community and you want to come on the show, obviously contact at InsideThe18Media.com for a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on the Union platform. If you're not familiar with the Union platform, we're just about to launch publicly. But if you want to pre-order a premium subscription, you can do that right now. We've literally going to have mentor programs and interactive breakdown sessions, town halls, which is all sorts of different little people. Maybe even Ray and Just for Keepers will do some stuff. Who knows? That's a conversation we can have in the future. But and then we're obviously very excited about all the parents content that Angie Bryan is going to be working with. I believe we have a mindset seminar coming up really soon with some great sports psychologists. If you want to reach out to Saskia, it's at Saskia on the Union. You can reach out to me at Goalkeeper Podcast. And remember to check out Saskia on CBS tomorrow. What time is that again? 7:30?
7:30 LA. It's CBS LA. Yeah.
CBS LA. So, well, this has been amazing, guys. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.